Scuderia Ferrari went from the top step in the Monaco Grand Prix to the Canadian hell, where they suffered a heavy double 0 points finish at the 4.361 km Circuit Gilles-Villeneuve in Montreal. The weekend ended in the worst possible way for the Prancing Horse team, with the SF-24 single-seater struggling significantly due to the usual problem of generating grip at low temperatures. Team principal Frederic Vasseur pointed out that they had an engine issue with Charles Leclerc, losing up to 1.2 seconds per lap, while Carlos Sainz got caught in the pack, suffered front wing damage at the start, and experienced a significant loss of downforce after another incident. As could be heard over the team radio, the problem faced by the Monegasque worsened during the race, starting with a half-second loss per lap that eventually became, on average, a loss of between 0.8 and 1.2 seconds per lap, as revealed by Frederic Vasseur and Charles Leclerc immediately after the race. A few days after the Canadian Grand Prix, the big news is that Italian aerodynamicist and Ferrari technical director Enrico Cardile has decided to push development at Maranello. A new floor will therefore arrive in the next round of the 2024 Formula One season, the Spanish Grand Prix, which will take place at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. Additionally, the Ferrari technicians also plan to introduce other small, updated elements. After implementing the first set of updates to make the SF-24 more extreme, starting at the Imola circuit, Ferrari technical director of chassis and aerodynamics Enrico Cardile and his team of engineers quickly turned their attention to the next phase of development. Initially, the Maranello team's strategy was to roll out the second major update package at Silverstone, with the goal of boosting overall downforce and improving the car's aerodynamic balance to mitigate specific issues. However, according to several Italian news media outlets, Scuderia Ferrari is accelerating production to debut the key updates in Barcelona instead. The technical team had originally planned to wait 6 races before introducing significant upgrades, opting to thoroughly refine the first major redesign and bypass an intermediate development stage. Despite the disappointing performance in the Canadian Grand Prix at the Montreal circuit, the inn at Maranello is working intensively with the clear goal of being able to return to the top and fight against Red Bull and McLaren for podium finishes. But anticipating the new floor for the Spanish Grand Prix will clearly be a difficult race against time. Imola marked the first significant step in revealing the true Ferrari 2024 F1 car, demonstrating that the winter efforts to revamp the conceptually flawed 2023 car were yielding results. A quarter of the development budget has been meticulously and strategically applied in order to push the aerodynamic package to its limits. Now the challenge is to expedite the introduction of many new components originally slated for the British Grand Prix at the Silverstone circuit, aiming to debut them in Barcelona. This will demand immense effort from the team's production department. The updated floor is designed to boost downforce by roughly 10 points and enhance overall efficiency. The crucial factor for greenlighting the package's shipment to Spain hinges on how many new floors Ferrari can manufacture. Producing 3 new units would enable both Leclerc and Sainz to benefit from the upgrade in Catalonia in 2 weeks. The upcoming week will be critical in this effort. Typically, it takes 7-8 weeks to produce a wind tunnel-approved model in 3 Grand Prix specifications, but the team is striving to accelerate this process. In Formula One, the most important race is always the next one. For this reason, the many mistakes made by Scuderia Ferrari at the Circuit Gilles-Villeneuve in Montreal have brought Frederic Vasseur's team back to reality after the justified enthusiasm and celebrations following the victory and the double podium finish on the streets of Monte Carlo in Monaco. Looking closely at what happened in the Canadian Grand Prix, it seemed like some of the ghosts that marked Ferrari's recent past had returned. From a strategy that was at times incomprehensible to a setup that never went in the right direction, starting with the free practice sessions, the fans were momentarily transported back to 2022, unfortunately. At the same time, it must be said that the 2 Formula One seasons are diametrically opposed and in some ways incomparable. In the last year of Mattia Binotto's management, the first with the new regulations, Scuderia Ferrari appeared on the starting grid as a serious title contender and won 2 of the first 3 rounds of the championship, the Bahrain Grand Prix and the Australian Grand Prix, only to then miss out on other possible victories due to power unit reliability issues, as well as some questionable strategy decisions made by the Maranello pit wall, which cost Charles Leclerc the race win in Monaco and at the Silverstone circuit. Frederic Vasseur's Ferrari team, on the other hand, has perhaps been the big surprise of this first part of the 2024 Formula One Championship. After the difficulties of the previous season, few would have bet a euro on a Ferrari car capable of fighting for podiums and victories from the start. Ferrari's recent downturn was particularly concerning as it coincided with strong performances from rivals McLaren and Mercedes, with the latter being able to get involved in the battle for the race win for the first time this season, as George Russell eventually claimed third place behind Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. With Mercedes now seemingly making it a four-way fight at the front, putting an ever bigger emphasis on race weekend execution, Fred Vasseur said the team isn't going to overreact. Despite Ferrari's inability to compete at the front in the Canadian Grand Prix, Frederic Vasseur expressed confidence that performance fluctuations would occur for every team based on the specific circuit characteristics. He noted that the previous week in Monaco had been difficult for Red Bull, while this weekend was challenging for the Italian side. The French manager highlighted that there were 3 or 4 teams within 1/10 of each other. Frederic Vasseur emphasized that tough weekends were to be expected, but it was crucial to remember that there were still a lot of races until the end of the season, likening it to almost a full championship from 2018 or 2017. He stressed the importance of maintaining the same approach, continuing to develop and addressing the issues. He stated that a good weekend did not make the Maranello team world champions, nor did a tough weekend render them irrelevant. Fred Vasseur assured that they would be back on pace in Spain after the toughest weekend of the campaign. In hindsight, the choice made by Haas at the start of the Canadian Grand Prix could have allowed the 2 Ferrari SF-24 cars, or at least one of them, to attempt an incredible comeback in the very early stages of the race. Charles Leclerc's subsequent power unit problem effectively threw the Maranello team into total confusion, with the Monegasque driver himself asking to switch to hard tires. This choice did not pay off, although the damage to the number 16 SF-24 certainly didn't help in deciding on the best strategy in Montreal. So far, one of the main strengths of Frederic Vasseur's Ferrari has been arriving at the beginning of the race weekend, with a setup almost ready once the cars hit the track for the first free practice session on Friday. In Canada, however, the situation seemed different, with a Ferrari that went from Friday's competitiveness to Saturday's and Sunday's great difficulties. As we said at the beginning, the most important race is always the next one. For this reason, as Carlos Sainz also stated, the Italian side must get back on the right track already in the upcoming round of the season, the Spanish Grand Prix. The Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona will probably be the real test in view of the second part of the championship, and hopefully the updates that the Maranello team's technicians plan to introduce will allow the SF-24 car to return to the top and challenge its main rivals for podiums and race victories.